Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is for special use 23-10. The applicants are Michael and Susan Connors, and the representative is Daniel Connors, and it's a proposal to put an Airbnb in a single-family home. The staff findings: lodging provided by homeowners for compensation is recognized as a special use allowed in a residential zone district, provided that the prescribed use is in harmony with the other uses permitted in the zone and not found to be contrary to public interest. The process provides for review of physical conditions which exist at the location, the conduct, and the operation of the proposed use, and whether the combination of these factors will be compatible with the proposed site and surrounding area. To provide the board with information about the proposed special use, the applicant and planning staff have responded to the established 20 questions. Here's an aerial view of the proposed Airbnb. It's on North Franklin Street. The zoning district is in an R2 or two-family residential. The comprehensive plan place type is uptown neighborhood, surrounded by open lands and the uptown edge. The property is in an R2 or two-family residence. The home is a two-bedroom, single-family with a footprint of 1,005 square feet in size. Vehicle access is provided via North Franklin Street to the front of the residence and a garage in the alley to the north. There are 1 to 2 parking spaces located in front and enough space for about 2 vehicles in the back of the residence. Handicap access may be a concern as there's stairs to enter from the front and the rear of the residential home. Some photos. This first one here is looking east down Franklin Street. This would be, this is looking west. Middle is looking east, and this would be looking directly south. The other properties are about 3,000 to 6,000 square feet in size. To the north, south, east, and west are single-family residential that are also located in the R2 zone. No changes in the zoning ordinance have occurred in this area. The property in question is located within the Uptown Neighborhood Place type in the comprehensive plan. The Uptown Neighborhood Place type represents a traditional urban neighborhood with a predominance of single-family attached and detached residential units and limited neighborhood commercial. It's in the Butte Historic District. The Uptown Neighborhood Place type flanks the Uptown Core Place type to the west and wraps around the north and south of that district. Some potential nuisances: increase in traffic. As long as the occupancy level of the residence is in conformance with the residential building code, it shouldn't increase the traffic. Wayfinding: staff does believe that the address should be clearly posted and be visible from the street and in the alley on the garage to mitigate the potential for guests to mistake a neighbor's home for the rental unit. Staff also feels that due to the difficulty finding the location and Google Maps not extremely reliable in this case, directions should be provided upon booking. Noise: staff would suggest that the owner does enforce rules through the online hosting program to regulate the noise. In conclusion, based on the above information, staff's analysis of the review criteria and any public opinion as it relates to the criteria, the board must determine if the applicant has presented evidence to the satisfaction of the board that says undue detriment will not result from the granting of a special use permit for the short-term rental. Section 1738-160, special or conditional use permit decision of the board requires staff to refer the application to the board within 15 days of the receipt of the application and all requested information. The board shall within 60 days deny the application and give reason with denial in writing or approve the application, and the zoning officer shall issue a zoning compliance permit with conditions specified. Thank you.
Any board members have any questions of the staff? I probably should ask the question when Mr. Connors explained it. The only question I had was on these stairs going up the front of it. It looked like some of the retaining walls were kind of in disrepair on the picture in front.
Oh yeah, I've been waiting on the rain to subside to actually get it repaired. So, been watching. I got the concrete ready in my garage. So,
My concern wasn't so much the wall, because I understand I have one at my own house that's doing that, but the stairs going up, if there was any problem with the stairs going up.
so the stairs are actually solid. The ones to the right are to a different property.
Oh, okay. So that's not going into the house.
No, the one, yeah, you see the little entrance to the left, right, or yeah, that's the entrance to the house.
Okay.
That one is well, there used to be a house there. Now it's owned by the neighbor, just a vacant lot.
Okay. Yeah, that was my only question.
Yeah, that's definitely on my agenda and at my house. Okay. So the concrete's ready.
Well, hopefully someday the rains will subside and you can do
Yeah, I
that.
heard June 15th on Chris Tomer, meteorologist, but guess he's wrong.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any further comments with regard to this matter?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I think similar thoughts on this one is, the special use permits for the Airbnbs that we've had previously. We supported them. All the owners of these Airbnbs are putting in a lot of work, money, and improving their property, the upkeep of their property, and I think it's a good thing to support and move forward with.
I agree, it's a definite improvement to the neighborhood. Okay. Does anybody care to make a motion then?
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion to approve special use permit 23-10 with the conditions of approval outlined.
Is there a second to that motion?
I second.
It's been moved and seconded, and we can now vote.
Thank you, Tom.
All 5 votes are for the motion. That means that your application has been approved, and you will be receiving a letter from the planning staff to that effect. And good luck with your project. Thank you. Okay, thank you. The next matter on our agenda is use variance application 23-3, an application by Aldo and Laura Vesco. Is Aldo or Laura? Hi. There'll first be a presentation by, you can stay there if you want to, because I'll be asking you to come back up there anyway. But there will first be a presentation by Joella here with regard to this matter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This presentation is for variance application number 23-3. The proposal is to locate a dog grooming operation on a property with a single-family residence that has a separate structure that was converted from a professional business office in the R4 manufactured zone. This is a picture of the property here, the residential home, and this was a detached garage at one time converted to commercial space. It is in the R4 zone. Some background on this property. The property was granted a special use permit. It was special use 21-2 back in 2021. This was for the structure to be utilized as professional business office. Prior to 2021 special use permit, the building had been a garage and then it was remodeled and converted into commercial building. The special use permit legally permitted the professional business office. The special use permit included conditions stating the applicant will be limited specifically to the businesses stated and approved, and any future business expansion, changes in the business, or building expansion would require further review by the Zoning Board of Adjustments. Therefore, conversion from professional business office to a dog grooming operation would require a review from the Zoning Board. Staff findings. BSBMC section 17-16-20 lists the permit uses in the R4 manufactured home zone are primarily residential and accessory structures. The proposed use is not outright permitted. It is not outright permitted. The request to vary from a requirement of the zoning ordinance requires review and approval by the Zoning Board of Adjustments. There are 3 criteria outlined by the Montana Supreme Court. When a pre-existing non-conforming structure exists, any new non-conforming use must be reviewed by the Zoning Board of Adjustments. The zone here is in an R4. You can see directly to the west is a C2. Across the street, across Holmes Avenue, is Highlands Golf Course. We have some industrial, and then the R4 zone here. An aerial view of the property is highlighted in red. Behind it is some more commercial or industrial type space that is also in the R4. Again, the property in question. This is looking directly south. This is Bob's Auto and Repair. Over here is looking kind of to the southwest of the property. This is looking to the west. And this is looking to the north. A variance must not be contrary to public interest. Some commercial industrial uses to the south, which is Bob's Auto and Truck Recycling. West is a single family home, and a commercial zone is just adjacent to that. Directly to the north across Holmes Avenue is the Highlands View Golf Course, and the comprehensive plan place type is suburban mix, which exhibits a mixed residential development pattern typically located within urban areas and has limited neighborhood scale commercial development. A variance must not be contrary to the public interest. Dog grooming business, if you have normal business hours, most work is expected to take place within the building. Animals are kept on a leash and supervised at all times. There would be no overnight stays and no more than 4 animals per day. Staff recommends that the board consider conditions of approval to ensure normal business hours, all waste being cleaned up daily, all applicable permits are obtained, and any change expansion is reviewed by the Zoning Board of Adjustments. These are standard considerations for commercial businesses in residential areas, and they may be discussed with the applicant. And here are some photos of what the inside of the property looks like. A variance must not be contrary to the public interest. Because of the varying land uses in the surrounding area and the amount of traffic along Holmes Avenue, the establishment of a low-impact commercial use such as a dog grooming operation would most likely not be contrary to the public interest. The imposition of conditions of approval to guarantee minimal disturbance to the neighborhood would be appropriate so long as they relate to impacts described within the evaluation. A literal enforcement of the zoning ordinance must result in unnecessary hardship owing to conditions unique to the property. Facts of hardship. The property was purchased while the structure was in use as a business and advertised as such during the buying process. As the buyers, converting the structure back to a garage with a driveway would be a great financial burden, and we would not consider this a reasonable option. Staff concurs with the applicant that the long-term nature of this structure being utilized commercially may constitute a hardship. It's unlikely that the structure would revert to a residential use, and it had been built out with office-like interior prior to the special use that was permitted in 2021. The special use permit included a condition stating the applicant will be limited specifically to the business as stated and approved, and any future business expansion, changes in business, or building expansion would require further review by the Zoning Board of Adjustments. Rather than forcing structures to remain vacant, as would most likely be the case without a variance, it may be appropriate to consider the commercial structure on residentially zoned lot a hardship. The conversion from professional business office to a dog grooming location was not approved by the zoning board, but is seeking approval at this time. The spirit of the zoning ordinance must be observed and substantial justice done. While the intent of the zoning ordinance is to restrict commercial development in residentially zoned areas, Section 1748.050 states that if no structural alterations are made, any non-conforming use of a structure or structures and premises may be changed to another non-conforming use, provided that the Board of Adjustments, either by general rule or by making findings in the specific case, find that the proposed use is equally appropriate or more appropriate to the district than the existing non-conforming use, in appropriate conditions and with safeguards in accord with the provisions of the ordinance codified in this title. The ordinance recognizes that the community has existing non-conforming structures and provides a path to maintain those without disrupting the character and the residents within those neighborhoods. In order to replace a non-conforming use with a different non-conforming use, the zoning board must determine that the proposed use is equal or less impactful than the preceding non-conforming use. Any new non-conforming use would require review from the zoning board. Conclusions and recommendations. The proposal to locate a dog grooming business here is similar in nature and scale to the original commercial intent and use of the structure that was approved by Special Use 21-2, with appropriate conditions of approval agreed to by the applicant. The business should not be detrimental to the neighborhood. The circumstances of an existing commercial building located in a residential zone may represent a hardship, and converting a non-conforming use to another similar non-conforming use is within the spirit of the zoning ordinance. Animal Control has also inspected the property and stated that they would support the use of the variance for a dog grooming operation. Therefore, staff recommends the board approve variance application number 23-3.
Thank you, Joella. Do any board members have any questions of the staff? None. Could the applicant or applicants, as the case may be, come forward and please identify yourself and provide any further information that might be relevant to the board's consideration?
Hi, I'm Maura Repola,
Hi, I'm Alexa Berg.
also known as Rough Cuts.
Hi, I would be the groomer.
And
Okay.
so we have the property now for a couple years. We tried to rent it for a business, but the business didn't work out, so we lost the permit and no one moved in. I met Alexa on Facebook with a cute little post that said, does anyone have a place I could, use for dog grooming? And this is the perfect fit because it's just one room. It has another big, huge room that provides for her tub and shower for the dogs. It has a cement floor still. That was the final piece, was to replace the flooring, and we were stuck on the cement floor when she was asking for this space. So we think it's a really good fit as a parking lot in front. The neighborhood is really patchy. There's one or two nicer houses. There's our rental next to our house, and it's occupied right now with a giant St. Bernard in the backyard, and they're pretty happy there. So anyway, I'll let her talk to you about the other criteria, but the property itself is a really good fit for a small business, especially the way that the layout is. And she's a little unique because her twist is that she's a doggy spa. So she made it, painted it, and we got all excited, and then she applies for her business license, and that's how we ended up here. And thank you, too, for helping us with this process.
Yes, thank you. So I also want to say that I did go around the neighborhood and get signatures from all around to support it. I didn't have anybody that was against it. A lot of people are questioning the dog waste. That's one thing with it being a doggy spa is like they're not there very long, so normally they don't have to go outside. But if they do, because they are pets, the waste is picked up right away. And I don't have very many dogs there. My hours would not be very long. I'd be like maybe 8 to 3, so that's about all.
Okay.
Thank you.
If you, I'll see if any of the board members have any questions with regard to this matter. Do any board members have any questions? No? Okay, thank you. I'd like to go over these recommended conditions of approval. And we've already talked about animal waste, and that undoubtedly will be a condition that'll be cleaned up daily.
Yes.
And that's okay with you?
Yes.
Okay. Then you do understand that you have to get all the permits and licenses that are applicable
Yes.
to any business?
Yes.
Okay, and that would be a condition also. And any expansions or changes in use would again have to come back before the board. And
Yes.
that's in a condition that will undoubtedly be applied also. Now, with regard to hours of operation, I wouldn't want you to hamstring yourself too much, but 8 to 3 seems reasonable. I think 8 to 5 is fine.
Okay.
And understand that once in a while you may need to see somebody with their animal later. So,
Okay, thank you.
The dog grooming business in Butte right now is very busy, and she's waiting to get really busy because it's really hard to get your dog into the groomer.
And I have been grooming for 11 years
Oh,
also,
wow.
yeah. I worked at Runs with Scissors, they trained me, Simply Grooming, St. Francis, and now I was trying to get my own place.
good,
Yes.
sounds good.
Mr. Chairman, I just have one question.
Sure, you bet, John.
In your application, in the presentation by Joella, it said 4 dogs a day. Are you going to limit yourself to 4 dogs a day?
I'm gonna allow whatever you guys would allow me to do, so if it's 4 dogs a day, I'm fine with that.
I would say if you're working the 8 hours or whatever number of hours you put on it, that the number of dogs that you service would be your
Okay, perfect,
priority.
perfect.
I don't think I just think you're limiting yourself by saying, okay, we're only going to service 4 dogs a day.
Perfect.
We wouldn't limit you to 4 dogs a day or 10 dogs a day
Thank
for that
you.
matter. Strictly hours of operation.
Perfect, thank you, I appreciate that.
So a thought with regard to hours of operation, does 8 to 5 sound good?
That's perfect.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, any further questions of board members to the applicant? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Is there anybody present that would care to speak in support of this application? Yes, ma'am, if you could come forward and identify yourself.
I'm Suella Chapman. I live at 3510 Utah Avenue, which is diagonally across the alley from this location. Directly to the north of us, the people that live in that house have 2 dogs. The St. Bernard is next to her business, the business that she's trying to open. I have more concern with the other residents and their not cleaning up their yards than I am with Lexi. There are dogs in the area, but there's been no dog fights, no problem with anything, and I think having a nice little business like this would be good for for Butte. She's trying to make a living and make a contribution, and she's a very hard worker.
Okay. Thank you for your comments, ma'am.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else that would care to speak in support of this application? Okay. Hearing nobody, I'll ask if there's anybody present that would care to speak against the application. And I'm not hearing anybody as I expected, and I will now close the public portion of the meeting. Any comments from the board with regard to this matter?
Mr. Chairman, yeah, I think this is a slam dunk. You know, I'm in complete support. You know, I think my only hesitations would be, you know, the dog waste that they, you know, thoroughly addressed. And then just, you know, amount of traffic, but with a dog grooming business, even if it's 10, 20 dogs a day, I don't think that's considerable traffic that would ever present a nuisance or anything in that type of area in that amount of space. Yeah, I think it would be a excellent use of the building, and yeah, full support.
Thank you, Gary. I'm suggesting that the conditions of approval should be as outlined here, with the hours of operation being 8 to 5. Is that acceptable with everybody? That sounds good? Okay. Any other comments with regard to this matter? Does anybody care to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion that we approve the application with conditions.
Okay.
I'd second that motion.
All right. It's been moved and seconded, and we can now vote. Okay, all 5 votes are for the motion. That means that your application has been approved, and you will be receiving a letter from the planning staff to that effect. It will also impose the conditions we discussed. So, thank you and good luck with your project.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you.
You bet, thank you. Do we have any further business? Okay, thank you, Joel. Guess the meeting is adjourned then.